Okay, today I want to go over how to remove a stuck cylinder. So obviously these are cylinders and the one that came off the motor is over there. So if you have a stuck cylinder, this motor is from 1986 and I just took it apart and it's 2018. So it's over a 30-year-old motor. Nothing was ever removed on it. It was 100% stock. So the base gasket here that mounts the cylinders to the cases was on there for 30 plus years, getting hot and cold. So over time it binds to the case, and a lot of people end up having trouble and have to rig up some crazy hydraulic presses to get the cylinders off. So I was kind of worried about that when I started taking this apart, thinking I was gonna have to maybe do something crazy to get the cylinder off. So first, obviously, I just started trying to pull it off. It wouldn't come off. So all I needed was this rubber mallet. It's pretty beat up now, but the cylinders were on there, and all I did was I would hit up and just hit everywhere, hitting back and forth, tip it on its side, hitting the cylinder up. And I did that for about 45 minutes, just beating on the cylinder, trying to get it off with the rubber mallet. And eventually the cylinder did end up wiggling free. So before you do anything crazy, getting any presses or things like that on this, try to just spray some WD-40 in where the gasket is, so right here. Let it sit, and then get a rubber mallet and go to town. I'd say go to town for at least an hour, and if it still doesn't let up, then you can try other methods, but I would just try with the rubber mallet because, like I said, 45 minutes of pounding, and it did end up coming free. So all I would do is I would just hit back and forth on the cylinder here and here, tip it on its side. I would hit up into the intake, and then where there is this kind of lip here, hit up there, hit up on the sides where this lip is and this lip is, and just try to get it to vibrate and wiggle free is basically the way that I found. I'd rather spend a little bit of extra time doing that than trying to rig up some crazy thing, because I know that a dude who made a video on a 650 rebuild, I believe, ended up having to do some crazy things to these cylinders to get them off. So I would just try that, and then you can always try to hit it with some heat from a heat gun. This is like the heat gun. If you wanted to try that, you could. I would just be careful not to get it too hot, because these guns do get really hot, and you don't want to obviously damage anything else in the process or weaken anything else, especially if you're just trying to do a top end rebuild. But I usually would never do just a top end, just because the crank has front and rear bearings in it, and the front bearing usually is the one that weakens and it goes out. So usually by the time that you're ready for a top end, you usually need new bearings and then crank seals also, which also causes hard starting. So the only reason I'm slapping this thing together is just because I want to get the flat deck on the water for the season. I don't plan on it being terribly reliable or anything like that, and I'm probably just going to end up having to use, I'm going to put a primer on it. So I'm going to have to end up using that primer a lot, I'm sure, assuming this thing even runs. And for someone who's going through and they're going to do a full rebuild, I would just highly, highly recommend doing the whole motor and not leaving any weak points, because if you leave a weak point, it will be found, and you'll be taking the whole motor apart again usually. So just in this case, I'm going to do a partial rebuild just to try to get a test on a flat deck. As you can see, the pistons are a little bit crispy looking, but hopefully it'll go together. And that's how I would remove a cylinder before I did anything else too crazy with it. So I'll update you guys in the next video.